LoreWarrior Campaigns, The Battle of Luthien. Scenario 14, Cat and Dragon. Leashed Dragon. Excerpt from the personal journal of Shosa Shin Yodama. I think I was busier than any man involved in the Battle of Luthien. I had so many duties during the battle, from commanding a recon detachment to acting as a liaison between the Kanrei and his father's Dragon's Claws. I do not fault Theodore-san for any of his decisions, but I should request extra hazardous duty pay for that assignment. Even at this late date, I am not certain whether the coordinator will order me to perform seppuku for defying his wishes during the fighting in the Kado Guchi Valley. I can still hear his curses ringing in my ears. As I pen these words, I can remember the keys of my Phoenix Hawk's comm console beneath my fingers. Would I have had the courage to enter and send the destruct code? Perhaps it is better that I will never know. Some dark recesses of a man's soul should never know the light of knowledge. Having once shouldered the responsibility of commanding such a man as Takashi Kirita, I am forever cured of any ambition to rule other men. Situation: the Kado Guchi Valley, Luthien, 1600 hours, 05 January, 3052. After smashing their way through the Genyosha and First Sword and Otomo line, and then fighting a prolonged stop-and-go battle with the Kellhounds and Wolf Dragoons, the Novacats finally succeeded in breaking out of the Waseda Hills and into the Kado Guchi Valley. Having already faced stiff opposition than they expected, the Cats were on guard for another assault. The attack came in the form of the Dragon's Claws, a unit of veteran Kirita warriors commanded by coordinator Takashi Kirita. Knowing his father's inclination for making suicidal charges reminiscent of ancient Terran samurai, Theodore Kirita placed his most trusted aide, Shosa Shin Yodama, with the Dragon's Claws as a liaison officer. It was Yodama's awesome responsibility to keep Takashi on his leash, as some war historians have put it. We are the Anvil. Scenario 15, Cornered Cats. Excerpt from the transcript of the interrogation of Novacat Star Captain Erika, 9th of January, 3052. Shosa Lee Bassett. Star Captain, tell us about your part in the fighting in the Kado Guchi Valley. Star Captain Erika. I commanded Bravo Assault Star, Trinary Assault, 32nd Nova Cat Assault Cluster. Star Colonel Mark Kerensky led us into the valley to outflank the mercenary lines. My star deployed on the right flank to screen the Trinary's main body from the mercenaries. We entered the valley roughly 5 kilometers from the outskirts of Imperial City, and almost immediately detected yet another line of defenders. These new battle mechs barely moved as we made our way across the valley. Suddenly, they charged down the side of the valley at us. A Grand Dragon slammed into my summoner and knocked it to the ground. I raised the machine in time to score several hits on a Jaeger mech, and after that situation grew so confused that no recognizable battle lines existed, the defenders forced us back. Slowly, at first. Then a gargoyle from Alpha Star exploded. That seemed to be the signal for a general withdrawal. We did not withdraw very far. And why not? Because no sooner did we attempt to disengage than the Kellhounds came pouring over a ridge to the north. We tried to muster a defense against the mercenaries, but they quickly forced us back into the Dragon's Claws. As I fired the last of my autocannon's ammunition into Cyclops, that same Grand Dragon blew my summoner's right leg off with a blast of PPC fire. The fall rendered me unconscious, and I did not recover my senses until the salvage crew pried my cockpit open. Star Captain, do you know who piloted that Grand Dragon? It was Takashi Kirita, the coordinator of the Draconis Combine. Situation: the Kado Guchi Valley, Luthien, 1630 hours, 05 January 3052. The Dragon's Claws surged down the slopes of the Kado Guchi Valley, stopped the Novacat's momentum toward Imperial City. Several clan mechs went down in the firestorm of that first volley. The clan then attempted an orderly withdrawal, but the Kellhounds launched a strike against their flank and rear. A Samurai's Death. Scenario 16, Dragon Unleashed. Excerpt from Wolves, Jaguars and Falcons, a virtual simulation of the Clan Wars by Jackson Mead, Virtual Art Simulations Incorporated, New Avalon, 3054. The Battle of Luthien undoubtedly remains one of the most fascinating battles in the entire history of the Clan Wars. And perhaps the most intriguing part of the battle was the defense of the Kado Guchi Valley, led by the coordinator of the Draconis Combine, Takashi Kirita. Historically, Shosa Shin Yodama successfully maintained control over the Dragon's Claws and their royal commander. The Dragon's Claws struck the advancing Nova Cats at the optimal time and place, meshing perfectly with the Kanrei's battle plan. But what if Yodama had failed? That's precisely the question this virtual reality simulation seeks to explore. Situation: the Kado Guchi Valley, Luthien, 1330 hours, 05 January 3052. Historically, Shosa Shin Yodama kept Takashi Kirita under control and held him to the carefully constructed defense of the Kanrei. In this what-if scenario, the coordinator slips Yodama's control and leads troops into a bloody engagement with the Nova Cats before the Kellhounds are in a position to support the action. Now, this is going to be a little bit different, but to cover the actual end of the battle, which isn't covered in the book, Luthien instead just has a general breakdown and a scenario of you being able to simulate a massive battle between hundreds of battle mechs in what's called Valley of Death, the last half hour of the Kado Guchi Valley. This is prior to Alpha Strike existing, so this was the only way they could run such a large battle. I'm going to read from the Invading Clans sourcebook and its write-up with regards to the second day of the battle. By the second day of the campaign, most of the remaining Smoke Jaguar forces had reached the Kado Guchi Valley. On the valley's far side, through the only easily accessible gap in the hills, lay the Imperial city. Khan Fury, growing impatient for the victory he still felt confident of winning, ordered the clan forces to launch a single large-scale assault that would crush the remaining Innisphere troops. The two long lines of mech warriors met in a titanic clash, but the clan forces failed to overwhelm Luthien's dogged defenders. Some of the clan troops suffered terrible defeats. The 145th Jaguar Regulars fell prey to Wolfsdragoon's Delta Regiment, which cut the 145th from the main body of the Jaguar force and slaughtered them down to the last. The clan line finally broke when the Smoke Jaguar's 315th Battle Cluster crumbled under the determined assault of the 1st Genyosha and the Kellhound's 1st Battalion. The Innisphere forces pounded the clans unmercifully, inflicting so much damage that Khan Fury briefly considered retreat. Before he could give the order, however, the 22nd Jaguar Regulars broke through a weak link in the chain of defending troops. The 22nd surged through the gap only to find themselves caught in a deadly crossfire between the remnants of the Otomo and the 2nd Legion of Vega. The clans charged the Otomo, hoping to win by dint of superior numbers. Instead of standing and fighting though, the Otomo mechs gave way and allowed the 22nd Regulars to run straight into the arms of the Alpha Regiment of Wolfsdragoons. The few survivors of the 22nd were later rounded up and clapped into prison in the Imperial city. The two-day battle for Luthien was a bitter and total defeat for Clan Smoke Jaguar. Of the 3 galaxies they committed, less than half had boarded the clan dropships and lifted off the planet. The Smoke Jaguars took more than a month to recover from these losses and their intense humiliation, deriving only slight satisfaction from exercising increasingly repressive measures against rebellious occupied worlds. Certain Smoke Jaguar commanders also began quarrelling with their counterparts in Novacat, accusing them of allowing Novacat merchants to smuggle weapons to rebels on Smoke Jaguar-held worlds. Rumours of such activity flew fast and thick, not only among the clan garrisons but also among several resistance groups. However, given Clan Smoke Jaguar's tendency to pick fights as compensation for defeat, the accusations may simply have served as a pretext for a trial of grievance. Whatever the case, no trial was fought. Ilkhan Kerensky wished to preserve his clan's fighting strength and refused to countenance wasting it for a cause that might not even have existed at the time. Not long after the Combine's resounding victory on Luthien, the DCMS High Command issued orders to its Ryuken regiments on Walcots to stage lightning raids on nearby clan-held worlds, both to destroy Smoke Jaguar supply caches and to arm the local populace. The Smoke Jaguar authorities responded by ordering indefinite prison terms for anyone suspected of subversive activity, as well as anyone even remotely connected to the suspect individual. They also issued a blanket ban on fraternization between Jaguar personnel and local citizens, punishable by immediate demotion in rank. Almost 2 months after the Luthien debacle, the Smoke Jaguars resumed their 5th invasion wave, capturing 5 additional worlds. Though ultimately successful, the conquest of those worlds took a far heavier toll than expected on the Jaguars, and took them so long to accomplish that the clan lost all hope of ever catching up to Wolf. Demoralised by 2 crushing defeats, the Smoke Jaguars welcomed the Ulkan's announcement of the proxy battle for Terra that was to take place on the backwater world of Tukiad in the rump of the Free Razelhag Republic. Though the Jaguar Khans automatically distrusted any arrangement made by Ulrich, and positively loathed the prospect of a 15-year treaty if they were to lose, they nevertheless craved a chance to redeem their failures in the eyes of their fellow clansmen. And so that wraps up the Kado Guchi Valley part, technically the end of the Battle of Luthien. It's a single, extremely large battle, as I said, hundreds of mechs across the whole scenario, battling each other here, but it only takes place across a single hour of combat between 4 and 5 o'clock, according to the book. Whether that is actually 100% true, it's hard to really tell. The first scenario is the one that sets up the clash where Takashi Kirita finally gets his dragon claws involved in the fight, where he had been desperately looking for an opportunity to get himself stuck in there for quite a while, with poor Shun Yodama desperately trying to keep him under control long enough. This was a scenario that took 3 lances of Innisphere mechs against 2 stars of clan assaults. Not clan assaults, a couple of assault mechs in there, but from the assault stars, and a Bravo elemental star of elementals. That one is across 4 map sheets, to give you an idea, whereas the next scenario that takes place, which is a mere, I think, half hour into the fight, then continues on with the forces from Takashi's forces and the Nova Cats, but now throwing in some heavily damaged clan mechs who were on the retreat. Obviously, some of the Kiritan forces have been defeated, but now the Kelhounds have jumped in as support in this scenario, as the Nova Cats desperately try to fall back and end up getting pincered and having a pretty nasty fight there. That's a pretty cool scenario. As I said, unfortunately, then we have the Samurai's Death scenario, which is a what if, where if Shin Yodama had actually failed to keep his forces under control, what would have happened there? And essentially the forces are pretty much the same size, but this time they're going up against another slightly weaker clan size. I'm not quite sure what is happening in that one. Apparently it's supposed to be taking place around about the same time as the previous scenario, so both sides are sort of reduced in strength for whatever reason. And it's just, if you wanted to do that, I guess the second fight, but both sides are a bit worn down and there's no Kelhounds. I don't really get why that one was in there, this what-if scenario. I guess they just wanted to fill that out a bit. But yeah, the actual final, the big battle taking place between the mercenaries and the the mercenaries and the Kiritan forces against the Smoke Jaguars and the Nova Cats. It's quite a sizable battle there. It just, as it says there, it's the climax of the entire battle. 12 Innisphere regiments going up against 5 clan galaxies. You get an idea of just how big this battle would have been. There's a whole stack of new rules and stuff they come up with for simulating huge numbers of forces fighting each other, how you do the attack results and all that. So it's kind of crazy. As I said, this was all before Alpha Strike became a thing, so you just had to take entire regiments as a stat block and then do damage over each turn against each other to sort it out. I imagine it would have been quite a feat to have stuck it all together. I suppose you could have shrunk it down to just one mech representing entire battalions on the board, moving them around that way if you wanted to run it that way, but yeah, it's pretty insane. And that's why I used the Invading Clans book to sort of wrap that one up, just to give you an idea of what had happened as a brief breakdown. But yeah, that is the end of essentially the Clans Assault. There's a couple more scenarios. One is set I think one is set just after, during the combat itself. I think it takes place, yeah, just at the end of the battle. And then there's another one that's after it, and I'll cover those in that one, and then I'll do another episode that's got a little bit about some write-ups for some of the mechs that's in this book, and then I guess just the final sort of wrap up with the whole campaign thing, really. So it's been a good one with Luthien. So thanks again for listening, as always. I'll catch you next time, and until then, have a good one, everyone. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.